You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hello everybody, it is Tuesday here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, Nerd to Know Media, the True Petty channel, and of course the WrestlingRewind.com. My name is Darrow O'Connor. You're listening to the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans that don't hate wrestling, and we are back after what is a break for us, but not for you, because I finally got around to posting that 2-hour show where I was a little bit mean on one Cody Rhodes, Martin.
But it backfired on you. The code man's back in the main event.
No, I don't believe that. I think that's a work. But we'll get to there. We'll get to that. Yeah, so look, so much has happened between then and now that it's like we were sitting here beforehand going, oh my God, what did we actually cover last time? And it's a good time I actually did that show because I was like, oh yeah, here's what we covered. But yeah, so much has happened. The entire dynamic and face of WWE has changed. We say that so much now that the words have lost meaning, Martin.
It's we've been living in an era of wrestling. Like literally, the past 2 years of wrestling have felt like 30 years. Like all this stuff has happened every week. It's like the business has changed, or there's some massive announcement. It's like we're genuinely living in, I don't know if you call it a golden age, but we're definitely living in an eventful era, you know. But
I feel bad for anyone that has to do like the post show or like, you know, the bracket news kind of stuff for websites.
You couldn't keep up with it.
No, you can't. It's crazy. It's just stuff just kind of happens.
Like soon as you'd have something out, it would be out of date.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's why I was kind of happy enough to let this ride for a little while to be like, all right, let's see what actually happens. So, you know, for anyone that's keeping score, we are going to talk about Elimination Chamber, which is coming up tomorrow because we're recording this on the 23rd, now the 24th of February. But we're also going to be talking about kind of what WWE actually looks like now going into WrestleMania. And then we're going to jump back in the time machine really quick and talk about In Your House, number 8, Beware of Dog.
Yeah, the only way to keep up with wrestling nowadays, like in real time, would be to like live tweet it. Just literally live tweet it as you live. You know,
yeah.
Like, oh my God, Vince McMahon's in jail. Oh, he's been executed. Oh my God, he's risen. He has risen.
It was all a work the whole time.
The whole time. It all ties back to when he pretended he blew himself up in his car in 2008.
Who's with him? Chris Benoit. Oh my God.
So yeah, it's been mental.
Well, you know, you heard him there. We did a longer intro than normal. Of course, my name is Darrow O'Connor, and I'm joined by Mr. 1 and 0. You know him, you love him, Mr. Martin Hardy. How are things, Martin?
I'm grand, Darrow. I'm awful sorry. I know you're doing your intro, but we just have so much to get to. As soon as I hear a kind of a break in the speech pattern, I'm just hopping in with whatever's coming to mind.
But that's what it's like. It's just insane. Like, again, we took a little bit of a step away for a while because obviously life happens, and then not only do we have like the main event change and then not change and then changed again, and then the whole world, you know, apparently being a fan of Cody Rhodes for some reason, and now we have not a title match, but we have a tag team match probably, and then a title match, and okay,
it's
what do you
very
make of this? Like, I know we have heel rock back, which is like proper heel rock from like the 90s. Here's the thing, right? I did notice. So I don't know if we're allowed to say what The Rock said, like where he properly went after one of the fans, and it was really funny. But I think the inevitable is going to happen, Martin, where Twitter will discover the Attitude Era properly. Because people were really upset about what The Rock said. I'm like, oh, that was tame.
Oh my God.
Tame.
That would have been, if you'd have tried to pull out a line like that in the Attitude Era, people would have been like, nah, scrub that. Punch that up. Get something
Exactly,
spicier in there.
And I was just like, oh, okay. If you really want to be upset, just turn on the WWE network and tune into 1977. Away you go.
I suspect that the network is going to take a hell of a pounding in the swap over to Netflix. Because I think Netflix is gonna have a whole team of guys looking through it, going, nope, cut that out, edit that out, cut that.
It's like, nope, we are not putting that in there ever.
Nope. Just, do you know what? Just find, delete Roddy Piper. Anything Roddy Piper did. Yeah, I mean, I know you're particularly happy to see The Rock back. I mean, it probably depends on what kind of fan you are. So, if you're a fan of The Rock, like, oh, it's awesome to see him back. And
I'm not a fan of The Rock.
But even without being like a massive fan, like when we were looking back at those like 96, 97 Raws, like his magnetism is undeniable.
Oh,
like
it's unbelievable.
His charisma's off the chart. So I wouldn't say there's anybody who isn't he might not be your top guy, but I think everybody on some level loves The Rock.
That's true. I do, and it's a credit to him. I think he's the only wrestler that's true for. Cena isn't that. Taker isn't that. Triple H isn't that. Austin isn't that. Everybody loves The Rock, but for different reasons. And it's funny, like, obviously people wanted The Rock back, and he came back, and he inserted himself into the WrestleMania main event, and people were like, oh my God, Cody, finish the story. Which, listen, I'm sorry, Martin. If I hear somebody say finish the story one more time, it's actually making me retch, like. It's the most. It's so cringe. I hate to use this term. It's so cringy. It's like, I know we talked about it last week, but they've said it like so much now that I'm like, it's starting to have the same reaction now to the big dog.
Oh my God!
And it's like, oh my God, yeah, okay. And here's the thing: if Cody does win, right? Let's just say that we have the tag team.
He has to.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Just say we have the tag team main event, which I think that's probably a lock now. And then he goes on and beats Roman. I genuinely don't think that's going to happen. I'm probably going to put money on it. We don't condone betting. I just for my own satisfaction. When he doesn't win, just to be like, thanks, Cody, you paid for my trip over. I don't think he will win, right? But if he does win, right? What happens then? Because that's the question I have for you, right? Because you don't hate Cody Rhodes as much as I do. Let's call it spade a spade. What happens then? What does a Cody Rhodes title reign look like when the story is finished?
Well, so I'm just assuming here. I think a couple of things would happen. I think Roman goes away for a long time. Obviously that'd be the first thing. Although, will people even feel the impact of that, given how little he actually shows up?
No. Specifically
Cody's reign, though. I think Cody's reign would have to be a short one. This story has all been in the chase.
Yeah, but hold on. What I'm trying to say is, I'm like, if he wins the title and finishes his story, then what?
But this is what I'm saying.
They've written themselves into a corner here where it's like, well, is he just gonna leave?
Like he can, like we talked the other week about how he might come out on Raw and say, oh, time to start a new chapter, or time to start my own story, or something like that. But I think the problem they'll face is that that's the stage where Cody will hit the wall he hit in AEW.
Yes, I think you're spot on there. Yeah,
the chase is all great. But once you have the title, then then you have to evolve. You have to change with that. This, I'm Cody, the white meat babyface. As a champion, that will have a very short run before people start to turn on that.
I think people turn on it almost instantly. And
you get the moment. You get the
moment, yeah. But I mean, by Backlash or whatever it's called now. WWE presents Backlash in association with
WrestleMania.
Backlash.
Snickerdoodles.
It's unfortunate because they're like, I can't believe they can't see this. Where it's like, look, I get it, and it's funny. A couple of people were like, "Oh, Cody's the top guy." I'm like, "Is he? His music is." Listen, I hate Cody Rhodes now, right? His theme music lives in my brain, right? I just find myself singing it constantly, so it's completely over, right?
Oh,
and
but
I think that's what's over. The
but
theme
doesn't
music.
it?
And everybody going, "Whoa!" Like
that's actually fair because that's a fair observation because they actually did change Seth Rollins' music to have something the crowd can sing along with to get him over. Yeah. And they changed Shinsuke Nakamura's music. They took out the part of it that the crowd could sing along with because they wanted him to be a heel.
Exactly.
So there is it sounds flippant when you say it, or people just like the music, but there is genuine psychology to that.
Yeah, if you're every WWE major face has something like this. Hulk Hogan had the music that you could sing along to. I had the lines. Austin had yeah, exactly. Austin kind of had everything with the beer and the Austin 316 and all that kind of stuff. Cena as well. The "You Can't See Me" and "The Champ Is Here" and all that kind of stuff. And also you could sing along to his music as well, which people did. I don't think this can be overstated. And I think people are missing the point here where it's like, listen, I do not like Cody Rhodes. I've said this 4 times on this show alone, right? But his music lives in my brain to the point that I'm walking to the shop and I just start singing it.
Isn't it actually
it's incredibly over?
A testament to the amount of changes that wrestling has gone through. If, say, 5 years ago, so just before AEW started up, 5 years ago, I had said to you, Dara, in 5 years, The Rock will return for a WrestleMania main event, and WWE fans will reject him and demand that Cody Rhodes be put in the main event. You wouldn't have put a penny on that bet because you'd have considered it a penny wasted.
I think it's, but again, in that turn, I would have given you a similar bet that CM Punk would be back in WWE.
Yeah, but I mean, he still, I know he stayed away from it mostly, but he did still show up to the odd indie show. So I suppose there was a hint there that he still had the bug, somewhere deep down. But the Cody thing is, I mean, it's wild objectively, but for you specifically, given your strong personal feelings, I could see it being something you would have had trouble believing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I still can't believe it. It's just I just.
Do you genuinely think the main event changes again, or?
Yeah, I do. I think it will change. I think it will change to probably something like, it won't be a triple threat. The Rock and Code and The Rock and Roman. Actually, it's funny. Roman is such an afterthought now, isn't it? It's crazy. He just no one cares.
Here, talking about afterthoughts, what have they done to Seth Rollins?
Absolutely. Yeah.
He has just, this is supposed to be between Cody and Reigns, and then it's supposed to be between Cody, Reigns, and The Rock, and that's fair enough. But the only one catching strays is Seth Rollins. He's constantly he's being belittled. His match is being belittled. His belt, people used to talk about, it's like a toy belt, and how Seth's done this great work to build it back up. Nah, that belt means that my belt keeping me jeans up means more than that belt he has now.
It's like Roman Reigns is like the little brother, behind The The Rock. Like anytime he's there with him, it's like, yeah, there's the actual star, and there's Roman Reigns, and Seth's just in the background, like, yeah, you go, Cody. It's like, oh, this is terrible. Like it's really bad. It's really bad.
The kid trying to involve himself with the popular kids.
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. They have completely just any credibility that title had is gone. It's gone. Like,
why didn't they just? And it was so unnecessary to put him in it. Why didn't they just keep him out of that story and have him doing his own thing, and preserve or build up that title? But look, it's madness. I just think it's hilarious that they've been building this story and they've had to do all this convoluted stuff to try and keep up with what the fans wanted to see, but the whole time, like, the one guy who's just been getting constantly ripped on is Seth. Does he even get like a night one main event? You think?
No. He will. He'll be in the night one main event in a tag match
or dark match. Maybe.
He'll be in that tag match with Seth. No, sorry, with Cody. But yeah, look, it's the weirdest road to WrestleMania I've ever seen. I do think a lot of this was kind of going with it just to try and appease someone. But then again, the Elimination Chamber, Drew could win it and take the belt off him, or they could have something. It's still up in the air. And look, I know we're flipping about this because it's funny, but also, like, we're still 2 months out from WrestleMania. All this could change. Like,
oh yeah.
Here's the thing, like, it was a lock for Punk and Seth to main event night one. That was like locked in, and it changed. It was locked in that The Rock was going against Roman Reigns. That was locked in. That went to print, and it
had
changed.
T-shirts.
Oh yeah, they had it all done. Like, so, I think this is specifically with wrestling, but it can be done for any kind of sport as well. Never say like this is 100% because it can change, and I do think that having The Rock not in a main event at WrestleMania, particularly when you need to get this Vince McMahon thing as far away as possible.
Oh yeah,
you have to make as much money as possible, and they're talking about bringing in Sylvester Stallone and stuff. All this can change, and again, wrestling fans are fickle, and that's why kind of placating to the internet is not always the best idea.
I agree with you there. Yeah,
it really isn't, because that can change. Like, I know some people are like, "Oh, Daniel Bryan." You forget Daniel Bryan lost that belt 2 months later. He got his moment and then got injured. So I would just be careful. But look, we're gonna keep an eye on this. As I said, it's the wildest WrestleMania build I think I've ever seen.
And the thing as well to remember is that we're long-term fans, like decades-long fans. We do a wrestling radio show, so we kind of maybe get hyper-focused on some of the minutiae of this and maybe do a wee bit of over-analyzing. If you are an average fan, or if you are just a slightly more casual viewer, or someone who's seeing this stuff come up on Peacock or whatever they happen to have, like, this is huge. It's going to be the biggest WrestleMania ever. I
still think it will be. I really do think it will be.
Like, and it's fine for fans like us to sit and go, "Oh, this jumping between who's going to wrestle who, it makes no sense. It's terrible writing. It's it's really bad booking," and that's all fair enough and all true, but ultimately will be meaningless because
here's the thing:
going to be massive.
It's messy, right? But it's getting everyone talking. It's getting everyone talking. Like, it's the messiest WrestleMania I've ever seen, where a lot of it makes sense and it's complete nonsense, but at the same time, everyone's talking about it.
Oh, sometimes I'm watching it and I feel like I'm going nuts, like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I saw that big press conference they did where they kind of shifted the main event from Rock Reigns to Reigns Cody, and that made zero sense. Absolutely zero sense. When it was
good,
over. No, but this is why I think I'm in the Twilight Zone, because when it was over, I was sitting there going, I have no idea what I just watched. I still have no idea what the main event is. What was the point of that? That felt like a huge waste of time and an insult to my intelligence. And then you go online, And people losing their minds over it. It's the best thing they've ever seen, and it's
because it's so different. It's so it's not the Attitude Era, but it is like everything that's happened in WWE now is so different. It's not the same garbage again. There's some elements that are the same, but from the casual fans, they're like, "Oh my god, WWE!" Like WWE doesn't even feel like WWE anymore. The overproduction is gone. A lot of the sleek stuff is gone, but they're just kind of letting stuff. Again, dude, we go back in time and watch the Attitude Era sometimes. We've said this before. When that press conference, when that's going to look amazing.
Yeah,
in a video package.
In a video package.
Yeah. It's going to look incredible in a video package.
Undertaker's whole career.
Exactly.
was all building to one amazing video package.
But yeah, like we've gone back and watched Raw, and I'd urge anybody else to do the same. Like go back and watch a random Raw from 1999.
Oh yeah, not even like one of the big ones. Like they all have this incredible energy to them.
And that's what I think they're finally starting to tap into, and maybe that's what people are drawn to. I thought it was great, but at the same time, I was with you where I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. This is a mess. But then again, car crash booking. It is what it is, and by jumping back and forward,
you got to remember that only works for so long.
It does, But again, if there's ever time to do it, it's around WrestleMania. But the final word on this though, before we move on to Elimination Chamber, which is later on tonight technically, I think is that like I know we overanalyze it and we do, but 2 months is a long time. Like I will just draw. I think I've said this before, but I will draw the line that like WrestleMania in 1999, up until like a month before, was completely different. Remember, Vince McMahon won the Royal Rumble. The Rock wasn't the champion. Mick Foley was. And he would lose the title back and forward where it would trade between Mick and The Rock. And then eventually the main event was The Rock and Austin. So it can change. People who are like, oh, Cody has to do it. I'm like, why? That's not how this works. Have you just started watching wrestling yesterday? And also, and if you have, great, cool, awesome, enjoy it. But that's not how wrestling works. It's not a sport. Like, it's not real. They can change it if they want to. It's a storyline. But also, if Cody does main event WrestleMania, I'm going to go on record, he's not winning. He's not winning.
I think so. That's a bold call. But
no,
you have been pretty good this year so far with bold calls.
But the reason why he's not winning is, like, here's the thing. If Roman had surpassed, and there was a good video on Wrestle Juice, going in Raw, that's kind of their channel, and he was talking about it. And he's pretty much on the same wavelength as me out with that. Like, if Roman had have already beaten Hogan's record, Cody's winning, right? If this had been chosen beforehand, if you had been like, we want Cody as the main guy, we want him to win, that's cool. They didn't. They wanted The Rock and Roman would have beaten The Rock, and then it would have been passed over at Survivor Series. It doesn't make any sense for Roman Reigns to lose when he's just about to break that record. Makes no sense. Why would you do that? No one will ever have the title run again. If you if you get rid of Hogan's record, you don't need to mention Vince McMahon half as much as you have to.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking it. I'm not just saying it because I don't like Cody Rhodes. That's a happy accident.
Setting the creative stuff aside, like if we're talking about why would they make this decision on who wins from a business perspective, the only reason I can think why they put Cody over at Mania is because he is the kind of image that they want to project in a champion. He is the guy who will, unlike Reigns, he's the guy who will show up every week, and he's the guy who'll smile and carry the belt on all the talk shows, and be really charming and affable and lovely on the talk shows, and be great with the kids, and do all the Make-A-Wish stuff. Like he's this generation's Cena. So
and here's the thing,
that makes me think that they might tilted towards him, but I completely think there's a validity in what you're saying as well.
You're 100% right, which is why I think Cody will win it at SummerSlam.
Oh, right, just not at... Yeah.
Just not at Mania. And remember, like, Mania isn't about wrestling, really. It's about everything else but wrestling. You know, like, here's the thing. The Rock comes out, cost Cody the match, or, again, what they could do, and this will really annoy people, Cody wins or Roman wins. The Rock is involved with the decision in that way, sets up a feud with Roman. So here's the thing, if Cody does win, I can see The Rock costing him the match. And then that's how you get Roman Reigns at The Rock at WrestleMania next year. That could happen.
This goes back to us talking about how Cody's contract says, yes, you'll main event WrestleMania, comma, and win the world title.
Comma. So look, he will win it. It just doesn't, it's just bad time and Cody. And I can't believe all these people going, oh, he's going to finish the story. He's like, yeah, he will. At SummerSlam or Survivor Series. Like, it's... Although, look, I could be wrong. We don't know. We don't obviously book WWE.
And you can't know. Like
no, you
I
can't.
said from the start of the show, look at wrestling the past week, the past month, the past year. We have no idea what's going to happen.
No, we don't. But as I said, they're just from where I'm sitting here, and from, as you said, being a long-term fan. That's why I think what I think, you know. And it's just anybody going against Roman now at this point has to contend with, once he's so close to that record being broken, and as long as that record stands, no one's beating him, and that's just the way it is. But as soon as that record's beaten, it'll be a roll up, and that'll be a hardcore title style. You know,
he'll be asleep on a plane, and Cody will sneak up behind him, just put a fingertip on his shoulder.
That'll be it.
Okay. Here, one of the sadder bits of news that we also missed, like maybe not as high profile, but Scott D'Amore has gone from TNA.
Man. That's surprising.
And a bit of a bummer, because like we've been talking a lot about TNA the past couple of weeks and how that promotion has really been looking up, really has a new sense of confidence and life. And following his removal, like a lot of the wrestlers there backstage are saying he was the guy behind that, and he was the one who had all the big ideas for it, and he was the one who wanted to push it. And it looks now that Anthem Entertainment, the kind of parent company, they're kind of happy just to keep their current level of investment and just keep them tipping along, which is, I mean, that's disappointing, because they really, really looked like they were on the verge of maybe not like a breakout, like becoming the number 2 company or anything, but they looked like they were really on the verge of a new kind of golden era for them.
This is devastating for me.
Yeah, so
because it's like
TNA guy.
What, like, this is the problem. Like, it's guys who hold the purse strings. It's the same thing happened with WCW. WCW wasn't worth anything when people didn't believe it wasn't worth anything. ECW wasn't worth anything because of all the debt, but WCW specifically, when the financial folks pulled the funding from it, but then also the TV rights, it wasn't worth anything, which is why Vince was able to buy Bolton for like $1 million. And I would caution Anthem here to think about that, because if they're just willing to sit where they are, remember, they're still on Access TV. They're not on actual, like, proper TV in America. That's a very dangerous spot to be in, because
TNA for a while was looking like I say, not that it was going to become the number 2 company, but for a while it was really looking like, hey, they could get a really decent TV deal.
Absolutely, and I still believe they could do that. But the thing about it is, it's like TNA, you know, Scott D'Amore has done so much with it, and now to just put it with someone who isn't involved with wrestling at all is very weird.
Yeah, it's
what's even worse here is, like, from what I've seen, it wasn't that he'd done anything. They're just like, no, we want this guy in, because apparently he was pushing for a lot more investment, as he said. But also, like, the talent were behind them. So Anthem have lost the locker room here. And look, I will say this: TNA have gone, like, surprisingly silent, except for the odd press release here and there about interviews with Moose and stuff, because Moose is doing the press run at the moment, which is fair. Moose is a very good champion to have out there doing that. But the problem here is Anthem might have lost the locker room with everyone being really upset. Like right now, do you know No Surrender's on at the moment? It is.
No idea.
And it's actually really good. But again, like, my question to TNA would be, yeah, okay, if you put out these great pay-per-views, but there's no growth, what's the point in having these shows? Like, there's some really, really good matches on No Surrender, but it doesn't matter because they're not going to push any higher. And you have, so then that leads to two scenarios. Either one, they slowly start fading again into obscurity, which they've just gotten out of obscurity, or the other more likely one, considering either they get bought by WWE or they get bought by AEW. I don't think AEW will buy them. I don't think Tony Khan wants to that, but WWE could do. WWE could be gearing up for a sale.
To be honest, I wouldn't want either to buy them. Like, one of the things we've always said is that monopolies in wrestling are bad. You know, like, you kind of need competition, and you need even like creatively aside, setting that aside, like you need competition, you need kind of that fire lit under you and all that. Yeah,
oh yeah, absolutely.
True. But you also, just in terms of people and the living, like you need a place for wrestlers to go. You know,
but again, man, like Anthem, to be fair, have put up with Impact Wrestling, TNA, with a lot of you know what, right? I mean, for the longest time, there was like, when TNA go out of business, I'll write the book on TNA, and now that book has gotten progressively longer. But like they have saved the company, and when I was over there in November last, it was amazing. The pay-per-views that they've had were great. It really seemed like this is TNA of old, but now they've kind of just hit this holding pattern where someone said it the other day, where it was like, this is Impact Wrestling with TNA skins.
It just seems a bizarre, like you're saying, the Anthem have put up with a lot from TNA, and that's fair enough, but it just seems like a bizarre time to kind of have this final straw now, when they are actually on the up and they do have a lot of attention. And like it just seems like you've hit the panic button here at the completely wrong time.
Yeah, it's like all the times to hit this panic button have already passed.
Yeah, they're
over. They're over the worst time. They're over the worst of the times now. Now they're actually all right, and people are excited. It's just a very weird business decision. But again, I mean, wrestling is weird. Stuff just happens sometimes where you're like, okay. Like, again, if you go back and watch people talking about WCW in 2001, nobody believed that they would go under because it was WCW. And what happened was, one of the executives just didn't want wrestling on the network.
Literally,
and that was literally it.
And folks, for anyone out there who doesn't know this, like if you read up on any of the books on the fall of WCW, and there's several very good ones, that is literally what it comes down to.
Yeah.
There was one executive on that Turner
Time Warner,
Time Warner board who just had he had no business reasoning for this. He
just didn't want wrestling on the network. He just didn't
like wrestling. He just didn't want it on the network. So it didn't get the TV deal. And without the TV deal, it's worthless. It's an indie. Like it's.
Well, it was worth exactly $1 million. That's what it was worth, And the thing about it is, it's like, I think that's important to keep in mind. So TNA's future here is actually in a bit more jeopardy than I would like it to be, because I think history doesn't repeat; it rhymes. And it's like, whoa, nothing has been learned here. I've gone on about AEW, how they're making the mistakes that we should do, and I still think they are, but they still have like money there, and once money is there, they can do whatever they want. It's grand. TNA needs to not do that. It needs to be run a little bit smarter, and Scott D'Amore seems to have had that figured out. But Anthem now, again, they're making the decisions, and unfortunately, it's not AEW who find themselves in the WCW rhyming. It's TNA, because all that has to happen is some executive to make a poor decision, and it looks like this is a poor decision.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So look, before we jump in the time machine, today, it's funny, right? So Elimination Chamber's happening in Perth, Australia, right? And the amount of people in America going, "Oh my God, I have to get up early or stay up late," and I'm just like,
every week I have to set up for Dynamite.
It's just, it's so funny. It's like the complaints are just ridiculous. It's like, this is the way it's been since I was 8 years old.
Yeah, my internal clock now doesn't get tired till about 3 a.m.
Yeah, same.
Because I'm so used to sitting up to watch Dynamite and Rampage and Collision. Like
it's too funny. It's just too funny. It's like, are you for real? Like, I just every time, like, oh my God, I have to get up early or go to bed late. It's like, yeah, there's no sympathy coming here from anyone in Europe about any of that, because that's just called watching wrestling. That's just what it is.
It's the price we pay.
It is. I don't think we get enough credit for it, genuinely. Okay, so look, the major talking points here really are the 2 Elimination Chamber matches. There's 1 or 2 other matches, but they're not great. I mean, Rhea Ripley obviously going to retain against Nia Jax. There's no way she's not. It's in Australia. It's Rhea Ripley. She's retaining. So we're going to really talk about the 2 chamber matches, the women's match and then the World Heavyweight Championship, right? So who do you think's winning? Like, I'm going with Becky and Drew.
Okay. This is terrible for someone who does a wrestling podcast.
You know who's in it?
Don't really keep up with week to week WWE.
Okay.
I'll do whenever me and you are like reviewing a pay-per-view, I'll watch that. But
okay, no, that's fair. I figured that's okay. So look, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Raquel Rodriguez in the women's title.
And this is for a shot at Rhea Ripley?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Becky makes the most sense. Maybe returning Liv Morgan, they might want to give her a shot, but Liv's issue is that everybody loves her, great character and all that. Never really been super in the ring. Tiffany Stratton, again, I don't watch NXT, but I hear a lot of people talking about her, that she's a real prospect. But again, these all seem like things, these all seem like people for the future. From that list, Becky Lynch seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, and I think it's the same case here with the world title. Drew, Roman Reigns, Bobo Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul. Your favorite?
Oh, so Gunther's not even in it?
No.
See, I finally relented and I just start calling him Gunther now.
I relented. They wore you down.
I kept up with the Walter as long as I could, but he's not. Actually, I had him pegged to win it. No, he's not in it. Logan Paul, I mean, they might.
They might.
You know, yeah, it makes sense that from a business perspective, it's something they might do.
It doesn't.
I will implode. I'll just.
No, it doesn't. No, he already has the title. It doesn't make sense to.
Your feelings on Cody Rhodes are mine for that gimp Logan Paul.
The difference with Logan Paul is everyone knows why he's there, and everyone knows that he's what he is, compared to Cody, where he's over because of a song. At least Logan Paul can actually work.
Why? Why do you think he's outside the realm of possibility? Why wouldn't they have him in and have him do a big match with Seth Rollins, and he doesn't have to win or anything?
Yeah, that's true. I think because they already have a belt on him, and they probably want him to defend it at Mania against someone. Because think about it, right? Obviously, these chamber matches are to fill out the card at Mania, which is pretty thin at the moment. So Drew has to have a dance partner. So does Randy Orton. So does Bobo. So does LA Knight. So does Kevin Owens. And so does Logan Paul. There's 3 matches in there.
Yeah.
There's not 4 matches. It just doesn't make sense for them to waste.
I take it. So Drew currently, he's been kept in around the main event spot, but they're also kind of setting up a future feud with him and Punk. So
Yes, they are.
I take it that his contract has been kind of, even if it's not been announced yet, on the quiet.
Yeah. He has signed. He absolutely has signed, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way he hasn't, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see that being part of his reward, that he re-signed and that they give him a shot at the world title at Mania.
And then he probably win it and then defends it against Punk. I mean, that's an inbuilt feud right there.
That's a pretty good call, yeah.
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 So
I think Seth, as much goodwill as he might have among WWE fans, I can see that also being a bit like the Cody endless babyface run. I can see that just sort of starting to grate on people and not quite as over as it was, and so it might be time to switch it.
And the thing about it as well, like, you know, Punk will be ready to come back as a major face going against Drew. I mean, the thing writes itself. I will have to say one thing, right? It's like with the Rumble, and we'll move on to In Your House now in a second, but I will have to say this. Like the Rumble, this is the first Elimination Chamber in a very long time that actually has some, like, organic stakes to it.
Yeah.
Anyone...
Not just because, it's February.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, you know, it's in the guys' match, in the girls' match, everyone there has a reason to want to win, like, legitimately. And even if they don't win, you can see how it can spark off and become something bigger. And it hasn't really been like that. As you said, it's been like, oh, it's February, quick, we should throw some random people in there.
Remember when they used to be like, time for Hell in a Cell, just might as well get some people in a cell, rather than like the culmination of a vicious blood feud.
It was like, match in a cell.
yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't a Hell in a Cell match. It was a match surrounded by a cell, and then later on, a match surrounded by a milk crate that painted it red for some reason.
They should have just called it match, a slightly boring match, obscured view.
Now with worse view.
It's like, okay, but yeah, like it's been a while since the Elimination Chamber has actually like had this level. Same with the Royal Rumble. So fair play to them, and they've actually done a really, really good organic booking. But like, it's very clear who's going to win here. But anyone who does win, it still leaves them somewhere to go.
That's not always a bad thing. Not everything has to be a swerve. Like, it's
absolutely, yeah.
If there's a kind of a clear storyline or a clear person fans want, or something that makes sense, like, it's not always bad that you just follow that.
Yeah, like, as I said, I'm ready to see Becky challenge Rhea. That's going to be fun. I'm ready to see Drew beat Seth Rollins. That's going to be cool. Like, they're not bad things. But then again, like, anyone who wins that match, or either one of those matches, I really wouldn't be too upset. It would be great to see Naomi win, because that would be cool. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, Naomi. Sorry.
I think I'm the same. I think she'll be like massive over, and when she gets eliminated, it'll get a big reaction. But it's like during December to Dismember, when I was really excited to see Sabu, and then he got attacked by the Big Show, and it was devastating. Backstage,
and I was just like, you didn't even get out. You got attacked on your way to the ring.
A constant string of disappointments.
No, it was Test. It was Test who attacked him. It wasn't the Big Show.
But that whole pay-per-view was a constant string of disappointments. Because didn't they have in the chamber for December to Dismember, like, so what is it, 6 or 8 people?
6.
And like 4 of them were people everyone really wanted to see, and they put those 4 out first.
Sorry, it wasn't the Elimination Chamber. It was the Extreme Elimination Chamber.
Because the Elimination Chamber on its own,
well, it doesn't have
very tame.
Well, it doesn't have weapons, so
doesn't that, like, is the Elimination Chamber not no DQ?
It is, but there were weapons. I remember there were weapons like
in the pods
with them. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, they did on one of the Elimination Chambers try to blow up the Undertaker. That was pretty extreme.
That's true, but not to go on this too much, but Bobby Lashley, the Big Show with Paul Heyman, Test, Andrew the Punisher Martin, RVD, Hardcore Holly, and CM Punk. That is a very.
That's what it was. And didn't they put Punk out like first?
Punk out first. He was supposed to win it. Apparently, he was supposed to win it. And he had him out first, yeah.
Oh my god! Sometimes wrestling is just inexplicable.
I can't believe Hardcore Holly was in, like, I know it wasn't a world title match, but Hardcore Holly and Test. Nobody wants to see Test. Not even then, nobody wanted to see Test. A year later, he'd be in the. Here's the thing, right? A year later, he'd be in the Doomsday Chamber blood match. So he left WWE around this time, and his first match back was in a different chamber.
Yeah, but Test will always be a top level bully.
Oh, he is, yeah.
For going out with Stacy Keibler. That's just bully status cemented for life.
Well.
Well, yeah. Sorry. Probably could have chose my words better there.
I was just like, that's expired now. Time machine. Right. So we're going all the way back to 1996, May 26th and 28th.
Yes.
From Florence, South Carolina and North Charleston, South Carolina. So the Florence Civic Center and North Charleston Coliseum. So this is a twofer. 2 nights or 2 shows smished together. And it's a bit of a mess. It's In Your House, number 8, Beware of Dog. I have to say, they've moved away from using the generic In Your House now, and it's just a random, really unflattering picture of Vader.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like they were
awful.
going to print like that evening at 5 o'clock, and they were like, "Oh my god, we don't have a cover! Quick, someone just get the first picture of Vader you have." It's like, oh, I got one here of him kind of just woken up in the morning.
Quick, that's all we have. Go.
It's from his driver's license. Get it on the cover.
It's really not good. But look, going into this, there's a ton of dark matches. Tons of dark matches. So to put this in perspective, right? So it was over the 2 nights, right? So literally from the first night, there were 10 matches. Excuse me. All of them except for one was a dark match, right? One was the free for all before the pay-per-view, and 2 nights later they would have Beware the Dog 2, which had 3 matches on it. So when you were buying this show, which God help you were buying the show, you were getting 4 matches, and this was weird. I wasn't expecting it to be as weird as this was, but it wasn't terrible. It was just weird. I've never seen a Caribbean strap match before, so I didn't know Austin was in one of those. And then there was a random casket match, which was actually really good.
Differs from an ordinary strap match in no way.
In no way, but it had Salvia Vega in it.
That's it. Yeah. Look, this isn't a terrible pay-per-view, and it's in your house. It's like an hour 47 minutes. If you want to watch it, it's a very easy watch. It is, however, one of those shows that gets completely overshadowed by the surrounding events. So obviously, what happened here, the reason it's split over 2 nights is because during the broadcast, in fact, after the first match, the arena they're in, because they were in the middle of a huge storm, experienced a massive power outage. And the show basically went off the air. You can actually go on YouTube and find some of the unedited feed of it happening. And then it came back on, not everywhere, it came back on some networks just in time for the main event, which was Michaels and British Bulldog, which is why when you watch it on the network, the world title match is like the second match. It's just the way they've edited it. So the power outage is the big thing. That's, what kind of overshadows it. But also what overshadows it is that this pay-per-view is kind of, if not a turning point, it's an indication of a turning point coming for WCW.
Yes.
Because 2 nights after this pay-per-view airs, none other than Scott Hall would show up on Nitro. Nitro would announce that it's going to 2 hours, and one of the matches here was changed between the original Power Outage show and the rerun show, which was the Steve Austin match, and it was changed to include if Austin loses, Ted DiBiase has to leave WWF stipulation, because he had also announced he was going to WCW. So while this show wasn't like the big turning point that everyone remembers, like the formation of the NWO or whatever, this is very much where the tide started, where you could see what was coming down the road.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, like, kind of thank God, because like the show, while it wasn't bad, it was just incredibly stale at certain points. Like, there were some cool moments. Like, it's weird to think that Taker would just do casket matches like very, very often, because that's just like, that was his thing. So kind of going back and watching it when a lot of these guys are younger is interesting, but they really, really relied on gimmicks here to kind of carry them through. Like, to put this into perspective, there was not only one casket match over the course of these 2 days, there was actually two, right? So they did the same match twice. That's how often it was. And it was a cool thing to see. But at the same time, when I was watching this, there was nothing that I was like, oh, I have to go back and watch that again. Even the title match, which was Michaels versus the British Bulldog.
It's a bit of a dud, yeah.
An absolute dud. Like, unfortunately with the British Bulldog now, my imprinted memory of him is him throwing the bin at Stephanie McMahon, screaming about his title match in 1999. That's what I think of when I think the British Bulldog. And I would rather see that where he's like, "Where's my title shot?" and then throws the bin at Stephanie. Which it's actually way more funny when I just said it that way. But yeah, like, look, wrestling needed a seismic change, and this wasn't it. Like, Shawn Michaels wasn't the right guy to carry the company. Obviously, like, he really wasn't. This was very poor. Brett would have been, but Brett wasn't even on the show.
No, I think this is he's still out, recovering from a couple of injuries.
It's Brettless, and you know what else? It's also Double J-less. No Double J.
What's even the point? No
exactly.
Brett, no Double J.
Might as well just go home. But yeah, there was nothing here that was like, oh, this was much. And I know you're saying this isn't in your house, and that's fair enough. But WWE needed something to really kick them into high gear. And funny enough, it was their former stars who were on poor shows just like this only a couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
JR in his Grill and JR podcast does an episode about this, and he says he not had it out with McMahon, because you don't have it out with McMahon. Like, he's the boss. But he said he had a very frank discussion with him about how we're relying on these older guys, and it's like what has worked in the past is not working anymore.
Yeah,
and we need new.
And he definitely did, and you can see it.
And that would bear fruit, like when they would embrace that in the next year or two. You would see that kind of bear fruit with guys like The Rock coming through, Austin, Mick Foley, these newer guys coming through, and very quickly the kind of legend names who had moved to WCW. Like, it was cool seeing them in WCW because it was different, but that pretty quickly went stale.
Yes, it did.
So it's I mean, from an historical perspective, it's kind of an interesting pay-per-view because it sort of low-key hints towards what's coming.
It does, and I think that's probably the best thing you can say about this show. It's a taste of things to come. It's more like a prelude to a big event. Like, when you're watching this, you're like, okay. And I think when you kind of flick forward to what the next In Your House would be, you can see how much things have already changed already.
I've been promising you since we started this arc. I've been promising you that In Your House gets good. It actually does. And
then after the next one, you have arguably one of the best one, which is Mind Games, which I think is actually Mick Foley's probably best match in WWE, right?
And this one, In Your House kicks off that incredible Mankind Undertaker feud. This is the kickoff of it. So there's that's worth seeing. It's also kind of worth seeing The Undertaker quite bizarrely in an intercontinental title match. And maybe later on when he was like, the American Badass or whatever, that would make more sense. But I thought it was so strange to see this version of The Undertaker. He's still very much the spooky Grim Reaper type character. It's one thing to have him just sort of beating people and winning the world title almost as an afterthought. Or as just a consequence of what he was going to do anyway. It's so bizarre to see him going for a lower title. He's nearly better with no title than with a lower tier title.
Listen, here's who brought credibility back to that belt? D'Lo Brown.
Well, D'Lo was a
Eurocontinental champion.
Eurocontinental, that's
the
right.
First Eurocontinental champion.
Was he the only? Was there any
other?
No.
There was a few. There was him and Kurt Angle as well.
Oh, Angle would have been awesome as a Eurocontinental.
Have you not seen it?
I probably have, like, back in the day.
Remember he lost both belts in the one night on WrestleMania 2000 to Benoit and Jericho.
That's right, yeah. In the triple threat, but each fall counted for one of his belts.
That's it. We're watching WrestleMania 2000. That's happening. That's the thing. We're taking a break. We're going to watch WrestleMania 2000. Folks.
Do you know what it's like? Everyone says as a matter of fact, as a matter of course, Kurt Angle, one of the best ever. But it's only when you sort of accidentally dip into all the wee things he's done here and there. God, he really was.
He really was. He really
was. Best ever.
Yeah, we're gonna have to leave it there because we're finished now for this week, Martin. Fair play. We managed to actually get through all the backlog and then also get through In Your House as well. So fair play.
That's it. Clear it out. It's like I've been working up in Stormont there, and we're only back to work now after a 2-year hiatus, and we're just working through a backlog.
Well, that's it. Here's the thing: we got to kind of make sure that doesn't happen because we don't know what's going to happen between now and WrestleMania. Even right as we're speaking, No Surrender is on, and then the Elimination Chamber. So when we're back next week, we're going to have even more to talk about. But is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No. Just like we say, these are eventful times in wrestling. And do you know that episode of The Office where someone goes, "Oh, I wish someone would tell you it's the good times when you're in the good times." We're in the good times, folks. So enjoy it.
Absolutely, because you just go back and watch wrestling in 2008, then you're not in the good times.
No idea how blessed we truly are. Absolutely.
It can always go lower. That's the thing. But folks, if you like what we do here, please go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com, the wrestlingrewind.com, or the True Penny channel. Basically, all of our shows are there for free in different forms. If you want to help support us, you can. The best way to do it is to spread the word of the podcast. You can email us, social media, all that good stuff as well. We also have our Patreon with different tiers. There's the Bookly tier, the X-Pac Euro tier, and my favorite, Rennet tier, which is tenor spelled backwards, obviously, because Relic is killer spelled backwards. And if you go for that one, well, Martin, what did you get?
Well, you get all the stuff that you get from the other tiers. You get to be part of the family. You get a shout out on the show. You get to give us your Boohily list. But you also get a handwritten letter backwards. You will literally have to read this thing in a mirror.
So lucky. And all that will cost you is a tenner, or a rennet. Again, if you're like watching Twin Peaks and everything's backwards for some reason. But folks, that is going to do it for this week. We'll be back next week. Again, if you want us to cover anything, we absolutely will. Go over to thewrestlingrewind.com and there's links to our socials and our email, and we'd be more than happy to oblige there. But from Martin, from Dave, see you next.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.